The role of renewables in actually supplying African countries with power actually leads to the energy security that can be done. And that obviously leads to economic growth, it leads to industrialization, and ultimately, with Africa having about 800, of the 800 million people in the world not having electricity, close to 75% of that population is sitting in Africa. So what we need really is a drive with energy, and that really means renewables, but we mustn't forget that there's a just transition phase, and that can mean alternative energy sources, which will include gas to power. African countries need to make sure that they develop a clear set of rules for investors coming into their various African countries. Clear monetary and fiscal policies, clear guidelines on what they need to have developed. For example, what industries do they need to focus on? Where would they need to give power to the people? Uplifting employment in various regions, etc. All of that is very important. I think what we've picked up in the various African countries, as soon as there's elections happening from one year to another, we see things change, and that doesn't mean it's necessarily stable. So if our governments in the various African countries can ensure that from one regime to another, that there's a stable, nice, smooth flow over, from rules and regulations from one to another, I think that will help as well. Investors, stakeholders, ultimately will have to follow where they see there's sustainability, and governments need to be an important stakeholder working with those investors. So as a financial institution on the African continent, us being Absa, we look at projects in a sustainable way. We would look at countries, what they would need in order to set economic growth there, but we cannot ignore climate change either. So each and every country will be evaluated on their economic needs, on what is their existing energy needs, can we bring renewables in there as well? But ultimately it becomes an energy mix for economic growth. From a bankability point of view, we need to make sure that the normal stability of policies, stable political environment, that all of that is in place as well. Otherwise, it becomes quite an expensive exercise if the country ratings are not necessarily feasible, to do investments. So as a bank, we are very supportive of Africa, and I think Africa Energy Forum is a good example of bringing stakeholders together to make it work for Africa.